Hey guys, welcome to Flow with the Grow. This is episode 68, I believe, and going to have Phil is his name on. Just waiting for him here, and we're going to talk a lot about mental health from a male standpoint. Me and him met. Have a kitty cat here. We met through Anytime Fitness, through our sales training and mastermind and personal training stuff, and so there's a really fun episode with that today. Definitely take some notes. Sparkly here. Yes.
What happened to my camera?
Hello, I can hear you. Oh, hey, there you are. Hey, what's up?
Not much. How are you?
I'm good. Hey, I actually have to go get Kiana's dog really fast. She went outside, but I'm gonna go really quick.
I'm going to finish getting this adjusted, so no worries.
Okay. Right here's some dogs barking, cats meowing.
None of them are trapped in here, but we've got 2 dogs and 2 cats. So
Really?
yeah.
What kind of dogs do you have?
So both of them are pit mixes that are rescues. So my wife got Dino, who's a pit lab mix, before we met, and he is a certified therapy dog that goes to work with her because she's a therapist.
That's awesome.
And then we rescued Mac last July, I think. She's a pit, and we found this out and surprised us. She's a pit Dane mix. So she's a big girl.
Yeah, I bet. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And then,
what were you saying? Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say the cats are rescues that she got as well. And it's funny because to an extent, all the animals are like therapy animals because they, like our cat Zeus will just hop, because this is where she does telemed right now. And so he'll just hop up right here and like be like talking and meowing at people and stuff. So yeah, it's pretty funny. Nice.
What kind of therapist is your wife?
So she wears a lot of hats. She works with a lot of LGBTQIA people. She also works with couples, infidelity, sexual trauma, stuff like that. So she's been doing it for, I think, 17 years now.
Yeah. When did you guys meet?
We've been married for a little over a year. We met last April, so we've not been together very long.
Oh my gosh. Yes. Well, congrats. That's awesome though.
Thank you.
Nice. And I bet you guys did you guys get connected because of like mental health and all, or like that's pretty cool. She's a therapist and you're super advocate for mental health. Tell me more.
It's funny. We met on Bumble, as funny as that is. And she's not a big fan of like, especially like when she was on dating sites and stuff, she wasn't a big fan of like advertising what she did, because then people are like, oh, you're shrinking me, or oh, I'm sure you got a lot to say about that and stuff like that. So I didn't know. That makes sense. Yeah, I didn't know until like our second date, and then I was like, oh, okay, so this kind of makes a lot of sense. But yeah, she's helped me a lot in exploring my own mental health. And I realized that I had treatment-resistant depression. And so I tried talk therapy for years. I tried DBT. I did EMDR. And through talking with her and everything, I actually started doing, it's called ART, which is what?
I did that.
Yeah? So you know.
What does it stand for again, though?
I am completely spacing. Hold on. I'm going to Google it.
Yeah, please do, because I cannot remember either.
I know it's like advanced something. She's going to kill me that I forgot.
You can't remember.
Oh, my gosh. Because, of course, everything when you do it is coming up as art therapy.
I know.
And so it's, And accelerated resolution therapy.
There we go. Okay.
Yeah. I was like,
There we go.
I know the acronym, but I don't know everything about what it stands for. So
yeah.
But yeah. So I've been doing that for the last like 2 months. Yes, it's very intense. Like going to work after is even really hard. Like I love what I do, what we do. And so it makes it easier, but still I'm just like, my brain just gets annihilated.
Yeah, like you're just tired.
Yeah. Is it okay to swear, by the way?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's totally fine.
But yeah, I'm done there and I'm just like, like I just want to take a nap. That's all I want to do. I want to sit in my truck and take a nap.
Yeah. And I think that not a lot of people know what ART is because I had no idea what it was. And the therapist that I started going to, so I went to a therapist probably like about a year ago, and it was about an hour away from me. And then eventually, like I wasn't connecting with the person. I just it didn't feel right for me. So I decided to stop. Plus, like I need to save money and I was going to get a therapist in my hometown. So I got a few recommendations and I reached out to some people and she was the only one that like called me back and that I answered. And so we found a time to meet. And initially she asked me why I wanted therapy. And then she said, well, we can do it the old school way where I give you, different things that you can do on your own and different like exercises that you can do. We can talk through it, or we can get shit done and do what's called ART. And I'm like, you're my girl, let's do this. And so it like has been a game changer. I've done it for a lot of different things. And so you tell me if this is like same for you, but every single time I do it, I'm just like, okay, this is just placebo. Like it's not going to work for me. Like it's maybe not going to work this time, but like and she even said, it's almost too good to be true. And it's just like mind blowing how you don't understand until you actually do it, but it works. Is that how you feel too? Like every time it's like, is this actually working?
Yeah. So I don't know what your therapist did, but mine has we do like a body scan each time to kind of like see how I'm feeling before we actually get started. And each time it's the same thing. Like I'm like, oh, I'm feeling apprehensive because I've done so many other types of therapy and none of them have worked. And so it's just, I totally get it. I'm like, okay, sure, I'll try this, but it's probably not going to work, but it absolutely does. I mean, it takes it out of me, but it works.
Yeah, for real, it does. So, okay, so we got connected through Anytime Fitness and really randomly, actually, because on the sales calls, the mastermind calls, we had never really been on a call together. And then I led a call and you were on it. And it was the first time that we had like met or whatever. And we were going through different things. And then you said how you are big into mental health. And I'm just like, I like praised you for it. I'm just like, that was amazing, especially coming from a male. We need more guys. We need more guys. Do you hear that?
Yes.
That's right. It's fine with a little toy ball. But so I just was so happy to hear that you were into mental health and an advocate for it, because a lot of guys out there will just like push it down. Took the ball away.
Yeah.
More later. So yeah. Okay. So I would love, whoops, that was me this time. I would love to have you just kind of, because I kind of know you, but I would love to know more about you, how you got in this episode, I want to just kind of have you, take the role, take the lead with it. But first, let's just talk more about who you are and what you do.
Yeah. So, I'm Phil. And like you said, we met through Anytime Fitness on the mastermind call. I thought it was super cool how jazzed you got when I mentioned that mental health and how big it was to me and how important it was to me. You're absolutely right. As men, from the time we're kids, we're taught that it's like big boys don't cry and just stuff it down. You're fine. You'll get over it. It'll all be good. And it's actually funny, the timing of this, because I was just listening to a podcast about ADHD, which I also have, and relationships. And they're talking about how men, especially, they're taught basically to turn all those feelings into anger and to hide behind the anger. And that's the mask that we wear.
Mhm.
And it's spot on, because as a kid, especially, it was anger. It was frustration. It was, picking fights with people just to get that out and to not feel what I was actually feeling. And so as a kid, lots of, I guess you could say, trauma growing up. Incredibly alcoholic father who wasn't around that often when he was, mentally, verbally, minutely physically abusive. I can't really say I ever got my ass kicked, but he had his things that he would do. And so that over time really kind of molded my teen years, and still lots of anger and not knowing where to put it. And I remember I found fitness, and that was like, I was able to put it all into that. And I was feeling depressed. Like, I knew there was something kind of there in the background. But I was just like, oh, the gym's making me feel good. The gym's my cure all. And I think for a lot of people, especially men, they view that as, that's my therapy. We've all said it. We all have, male and female alike. And fast forward, everything's under control, and I'm living my life. 2017, 2018-ish, I was in a really bad relationship. Gaslighting, just super toxic, controlling behavior from my partner. I'm no angel, I know that, but at the same time, it was just, I wasn't seeing all these things. I wasn't really processing and realizing what was happening. And she'd push and pull and push and pull, and like finally got to the point where I hit rock bottom. And I can't tell you how many times I had to jimmy a lock to stop this person from hurting themselves. And it took its toll on me, to the point where when she would pull away, I hit rock bottom, and then I was left in a mess. So it culminated in 3 suicide attempts before finally seeking out the help that I really needed. Because also, like with a lot of people, I'm sure you can attest to this as well, is it's not easy to find mental health quickly unless you get committed or something along those lines. And I was calling and reaching out, and people were backed up. They weren't taking new clients, or I'd have to put like $300 deposit down just so that they would see me for a one-time visit. And I'm like, what? Like, I need to talk to somebody now. And so I just kept pushing it back. And after my final attempt that culminated with me in a random parking lot, my mom coming to find me where I was, and on the suicide hotline, which is not a joke. Use it if you need to. They helped me find the resources that I needed to get in quickly and effectively. And I found Prairie Care, which I don't know if you've heard of. They're in Minnesota. They have a few locations, and they have inpatient and outpatient care. And I was able to meet with somebody within a week to just do intake stuff. And I had a support structure at home still. So I didn't need inpatient care, but I was in intensive outpatient care. So I took leave of absence from work, and for 4 months, I think it was about 4 months, I was in their DBT program, and I was the only male there the whole 4 months. I did not come across another man.
How did that make you feel? What was like kind of going through your head when that happened?
That was really kind of the eye-opening moment for me, where I was like, this is a problem.
Mm-hmm.
And the lady leading it, she even told me, she was like, there was a guy who had just graduated from the program a week before I started, but before that, it had probably been almost a year before they had another male in the program. It's that was kind of just bewildering almost to me.
Yeah.
And it really opened my eyes to the fact that it's
Not common in men.
yeah, and it's like we said, it's the way we're brought up. I really truly feel like it's the male, I don't want to say machismo, but it's the male mentality of I'm fine. I don't need to talk about it. I'm okay.
Mm-hmm.
Until you're not okay.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of guys don't know what to do.
Yeah. Was that kind of so when that happened, when you were the only male there, was that kind of your first, like you said, you realized that it wasn't as common? Was that also when you started thinking in your mind that you wanted to be more of an advocate? Or was there another time that kind of propelled you into doing that?
That was the first time that, like, I guess you could say that was like when the bug kind of hit me.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I don't know how I'm going to do this. And there's times where I still don't. There's times where I'm still like, I don't know what's the best way to get involved. But it's, yeah, that was kind of the first time that it was really hit me that I'm like, I want to do something to help others with this, other men or anybody in general. It's not just men. I just feel that there kind of needs to be a bit of a spotlight on the men's aspect.
Exactly. Yeah. And so you mentioned traumas. How do you define what a trauma is? What do you, and because like, how would people know what a trauma is?
So that's actually one thing that I learned when I kind of started ART with my therapist is there are things that we experience that are trauma that we might not actually link until we're in a point of therapy or you have an aha moment where you're like, oh shit,
Mm-hmm.
that's a trauma. The biggest one for me that I kind of put together was how early my feelings of not being good enough started. Because I always related it to like romantic relationships. And it was actually doing some deep thinking and talking with my therapist that it was like, oh no, when I was a kid and I would do something great and my dad would come in and go, yeah, but you could have done it better. Or you wouldn't even touch on what was done well. It was, you missed this though. So that kind of started that. And it wasn't until I was in therapy and kind of had that aha moment that I realized how young it actually started.
Yeah, I feel like for a lot of people, it starts when you're really young and either it's in your subconscious mind, so you don't actually realize it, or you just need to, maybe you do realize it, but you don't realize that that can affect you to like your older
Absolutely.
years.
Absolutely. It's, it's, it's crazy too. I touched on the fact that I have ADHD, that ADHD, if you've ever had it, or if you have it, or know anybody that has, the best way I can describe it is a lot of people when they're talking or thinking about something, they open a door in their mind, and then when they're done, they close the door and they open the next one. ADHD is like you've got a room full of doors and they're all open all the time, so you're constantly jumping through thoughts. And pair that with depression and anxiety, I get hit with a bad thought or something, and it's like all the doors open, they're all negative thoughts, it's all just bad. So you pair those two together and it's a recipe for a disaster at times.
Yeah.
But it's something that a lot of people don't realize too, that especially when you pair those two things together, it's
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
What are some ways that you've coped with that other than therapy? Like maybe before you even realized that's what it was.
Yeah, so DBT actually taught me a lot of techniques to kind of snap my mind out of whatever was kind of going on. And my favorite one was called TIP, which is basically a change of temperature. And so if I'm really super overwhelmed, like take an ice pack or two, put them on your face, and it kind of can help. Like that temperature change will snap you out of it in a sense. Or sometimes my go-to lately has just been a hot shower. Just go stand in a hot shower, and that just kind of helps from there. So those are just some of the probably the easiest, I guess I could say, coping mechanisms. So,
what does DBT stand for?
Dialectic. No, hold on. I'm going to butcher that if I try.
Look it up. I don't think I've ever heard of that actually.
DBT therapy is dialectical behavior therapy. Okay, so I wasn't going to butcher it. I didn't know what it was. So it's I'm reading this real quick so I make sure I describe it properly. But it's basically cognitive behavioral therapy that tries to identify and change negative thinking patterns and pushes for more positive behavioral changes. And it is probably the most common first step for people that are suicidal or self-destructive behaviors. Like that's Prairie Care really, I think, besides inpatient, inpatient, I think their outpatient program of DBT is probably if I had to guess, that's probably their number one go-to.
Yeah.
It kind of helps to try and rewire your mind's way of thinking.
How challenging was that?
Oh, man. It was, I would say on average, it wasn't as taxing each day as going through ART therapy was. But it was, I still have it. I was given a 3-ring binder that's probably about this thick, full of different steps and things to try and ways to do these things on your own and to have them as a reminder for when you need them. So, I mean, it definitely took its toll. But it's nice that it was spread out over a course of time. I mean, I definitely left most days just kind of like, okay, yep, that's another day down. Or one day at a time. That's what it really comes down to each time.
Yeah. So when did you start? When was it that you started? She has another toy. Later, no, but okay, later. When did you start therapy? Like when, I know that you said you, like kind of when it all started. I kind of want to know a timeline of when it started to now.
The first time I ever tried therapy, I think I was 14. My mom was a little worried about behavior stuff and how I was doing, but I was 14. I was like, I want to fucking do this. Like, no. And I was just like, this person's they're teamed up with you. They are just agreeing with everything you want to say. And that didn't last very long, to say the least. Honestly, it was probably about 6 months before I hit my lowest point that I found on my own my first therapist. She was a DBT therapist. She had a lot of years doing it. But again, like you had mentioned with Lon, we didn't connect. It wasn't, I felt like I was talking a lot, but she wasn't exactly hearing what I had to say. And so that was kind of disheartening, as you could imagine. Then I went to Prairie Care, and I was lucky enough to the lady that was leading the Prairie Care program that I was in. When I graduated out, she was actually just opened up 2 new slots for patients. So I was seeing her for 6 months after I graduated that program. And this was a kind of a bad experience I had, though, is she just disappeared. She called me one day. I was set to have an appointment. She said she had to take a leave of absence for some family stuff. And I was like, okay, I mean, I understand. So after a couple of weeks, I'd gotten to the point of therapy with her that as my wife puts it, a good therapist is always looking to be fired by their patient, in the sense of they have done their job and they no longer need them.
Right.
I was getting to that point with this therapist, but I was still going every 2 to 3 weeks. So I called after about a month and I was like, hey, I need to set up an appointment for Wendy. And they informed me that she just left one day and didn't come back. Yeah. So, which come to find out after telling my wife this story is a massive no-no, because I was at one point a high risk client. I mean, if I was still high risk and I committed suicide or something, she could have been sued for not having another like therapist or somebody lined up.
Yeah.
So yeah. So after that happened, I did some research. I found a great therapist to do my EMDR with here in Maple Grove. Once her and I kind of realized that this treatment resistant stuff that I was going through, EMDR, wasn't as effective as it should have been, that's when one of her colleagues recommended that I do ART through her. And that woman is also my wife and I's couples therapist. So it's crazy. It really is. So,
oh my gosh.
I have 2 therapists right now, and I'm married to one. So I deal with therapists a lot.
That is a good person having your like support friend group, though.
Yes.
Oh my God.
So ever since we met, we did set boundaries very quickly that she's not my therapist.
That's good. Mm-hmm.
She's of course here for me when I need it. And she absolutely has been. You got to set that boundary because
yes, for sure. I think it's amazing that you guys go to couples therapy.
Yeah.
Did you start that like right away, or how did that come about?
No, we met in a pandemic, and we started dating, living together, and got married all in such a short amount of time while in a pandemic that as we got up to 1 year, we were like, holy shit, we're learning a lot about each other now that we're able to do our own things.
Yeah.
That I think we've been working with her since April. And it really does help because I made the mistake, and for anybody who ever dates a therapist, don't make this mistake, that just because she's been doing it as long as she has been, she knows what's up in my brain, like just because she's been doing it for so long. So that was a mistake that I made, and I owned that. So, but I definitely think couples therapy has such this negative connotation to it that if you're doing it, you're failing. Which it's not always sunshine and rainbows. I mean, we have our moments, especially 2 kids, 2 cats, 2 dogs. Our house gets a little fucking crazy sometimes.
Yeah.
But I think even in a good relationship, having a therapist every once in a while, because I mean, you're going to butt heads no matter what. And if you have a mediator, fucking do it.
Yeah, I'm so glad you brought that up too, because I also have talked with a therapist, and she's kind of a life coach too, but she mentioned that therapy is also a preventative measure. You don't have to have like an issue with a couple or like yourself. You don't have to have anything specific, but it's a way to prevent, like just how we, I don't know, get our eyes checked or brush our teeth or whatever. It's like a preventative measure that we take so that we're not hit with issues or consequences, I guess, in the long run.
Absolutely. I agree with that 110%. And I think beyond couples, like you're saying, just having one, you could be feeling good in your day-to-day life, but there's no harm in having a therapist. You don't need to see an ART therapist or EMDR, just talk therapist even. Mm-hmm. So it's, I definitely agree with you. Preventative therapy should absolutely be a more common thing.
Yeah. And because I started going to therapy and I was going weekly. And then me and my therapist that I'm with now, I've been with her for like the past year now. And we've kind of taken a step back because I've improved so much in a short amount of time and with things that I've been working on. And so I see her at least once a month. I was doing once a week, then I went to every 2 weeks, and then now I'm at once a month, just to kind of like check in. And it's nice having someone who's not on the inside seeing everything. And it's nice having, I don't know, she just gives different perspectives, and she will repeat back what I'm saying and not tell me like, you should do this or you should do that, but she'll just kind of throw out different ideas. But for me now, it's kind of more of like that preventative measure. And it's been very helpful. So your couples therapy, you guys were both mutual in the fact that you guys wanted to do it together?
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
Because a lot of couples I feel like do not, like, one will want to do it, the other won't.
Yeah. And when we started having these moments where we were butting heads over some of the dumbest shit sometimes, like we were just like, okay, I should not be getting this annoyed about something this small. What's going on? And that's when we both are kind of like, okay, pump the brakes. Let's get, like you said, an outsider's opinion on what is happening. And so, yes, we were both in agreement about that. It's fortunate to find somebody who was.
Yeah.
I'd been married once before, and when stuff started going downhill in my previous marriage, I was the one who was like, you know what, maybe we should seek out counseling of some sort. And I shit you not, you would have thought I just like suggested starting World War III with how his wife reacted. Like, it was unreal. I was like,
it's because it's not common. It's not normal to do that. People don't talk about it. And so I feel like it's kind of like, to me, it's like if someone gets mad about it, it's almost like they find like maybe it's offensive to them that someone would say, oh, you should get therapy, or, you know, you should go to couples therapy, or we should go to couples therapy. Maybe it's something like that, but also maybe deep down they know, I don't know. I don't really know what it is. I think maybe it's just like not as normal.
I think you're absolutely right on that. And I think that stigma behind it is exactly why, I mean, that stigma coupled with social media, dating apps and whatnot, I fully believe that that's why divorce rates are so high. And I think that's why suicide rates are so high as well. I mean, social media and mental health, not a good combo in my opinion. I mean, it's, Jessica actually just quoted me an article that I think it was from the CDC. Actually, she said that suicides were up 25% in the last year.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, I'm not surprised. We've been quarantined. Mm-hmm. I mean, because South Dakota, I don't remember if you guys ever did the full lockdown like we did in Minnesota.
We did, not as long as you guys though.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not fucking surprised at all, because they kept bars open but closed gyms.
Yeah. How does that make any sense? It doesn't.
We had a full gym. I'm very fortunate enough that we had a full gym in our garage. We bought dumbbells, barbells, we bought weights, we bought squat rack. We had the access to it. Mm-hmm. I'm very fortunate to that. But if I didn't and you took away the gym,
yeah,
I would have been a whole different level of lost.
Yeah. And it just created so much fear with people, fear and like stress, anxiety, and just like having the unknown and then being cooped up and not being able to like, we're wearing masks, so we can't like see each other. We can't smile. So yeah, I totally like, I mean, I get it too, why that went up so high. And I feel like during that time, I feel like maybe mental health was kind of talked about a little bit more, but I think if we were talking about it more so before that happened, come here. I think if that happened before, if we were talking more about it, it could have maybe prevented it, but at least like had more of an awareness.
Yeah. And
be more aware of it.
My wife and I talk about that a lot. And I think it was an article she read or one of her colleagues read that therapists in the mental health field in general is going to be dealing with the fallout of this for over the next 10 years. I mean, if you think about the kids alone. So my stepson, 13 years old, before the lockdown, he made the honor roll. He was getting great grades. And all of a sudden you pull him out of school, which he also has incredible ADHD. You pull him out of school, take him away from his what are they called? Basically, he had like a para that he worked with every day. You take him away from that. You take him away from the in-person stuff where he can kind of just drift off into space and not pay attention. And we were worried by the end of the year about if he was going to pass. He did, but we were still worried because his grades were getting so bad.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's like they put him back in, and now it's like we're seeing this fucking Delta variant. Is he gonna have to get pulled out again? It's like I'm truly concerned about the children that are growing up right now, because I think that mental health needs to become a much bigger subject and much more talk.
Can you imagine if that was like a subject in school? Mental health. Like, mental health matters. Why can't that be a class? Like, something that we actually need. It's going to impact every area of life.
This is why you're feeling the way you are. This is how you can go about talking to somebody.
It's
it's I think there's a lot of different subjects that could be taught in school that would be more beneficial to kids, but definitely understanding, like, we have a good understanding of the human body that kids go through. Why can't they have a good understanding of why they're thinking the thoughts that they have?
Brain.
Why at 13 years old does a kid feel that they need to take their life? Like, that's somebody should probably have been a little bit more thoughtful of the health class or something.
Right. Yeah. How are you instilling mental health awareness in your kids?
I mean, it's a great thing, the fact that their mom is a therapist.
Yeah.
They both, from a young age, so I've obviously only been in their life a short period of time, but growing up, they were both in therapy. And we recently got Isaiah, our 13-year-old, back into therapy. And he loves it. And him and I even did a session together one time, just because we're so alike with the ADHD that it's so easy for us to just butt heads, and like both of us get so frustrated with each other, because especially with ADHD, we're both like, it can be rough, but we both did a session together and it went great. He loves it. He loves his therapist. And
awesome.
I actually found out his therapist was a member of my Anytime Fitness. That was a lot.
No way.
I was like, wait a second, what? Why do you look familiar? And she's like,
that's awesome.
And then his little sister, she's 9, and she's like, I want to go back to therapy. Okay.
Wow.
Well, I think that's super helpful. They know what their mom does. They know very well what she does. Her and I are actually doing, we're participating in a suicide awareness walk next weekend. Yeah. So I got this cool shirt that says,
I was going to mention, say that. Yes. Love the shirt.
Yep. So I've got that. And I'm actually, one of our friends who's also a cheer mom that her daughter does cheer with Harper, is making me a shirt that's going to say warrior to match my tattoo that I got with the semicolon. Mm-hmm. So I'm excited I'm going to wear, I don't know which one I'm going to wear. It depends on if I have it in time, but then on the back, it's going to say hashtag break the stigma, hashtag men's mental health awareness. So
love that. See, just like being a walking billboard, just wearing shirts, and like that can be one. If you're just walking through a grocery store, I bet there's many people you will have no idea who it would influence and make an impact on, and be like, wow, that's super cool that he's wearing that. And maybe someone will come talk to you too, but just to kind of get people starting to think about that. And
sorry, go ahead.
I don't remember what I was gonna say. Let's get you go.
Sorry. It's crazy how just like, so I told you about it. I got my tattoo looks
awesome.
2 Tuesdays ago now.
Yes.
It's not quite done. Got to go in to get some touch up and filling in done. But one of my members saw it, and she was like, I knew there was a reason I connected with you so well. And then she showed me, she had the semicolon on her. I'm like,
isn't that amazing? I love when that happens.
Yeah. So it's
awesome.
Like, a hand tattoo. Probably never, it wasn't very high on my list.
Yeah.
Even a year ago. But I was like, I want this one to be, I want people to see it. I want it to be visible so people know.
That's what I was gonna say. It's like, since it's so visible, people see it, people ask you about it. People ask about just like any tattoo. It's like any of my tattoos people ask about, but when it's something like that too, like it's good conversation starter, and then something that people can relate with. Like, oh, okay, that's really cool. And also, what was one of the thoughts that came to mind was, I feel like people in especially social media and maybe just day to day, we worry about what people are going to think of us and other people judging us. And if we speak out on things that we're struggling with, we will feel like people are going to judge us for it. But then also the fact that people are going to think that we're just wanting attention, and how it's,
So it's funny that you brought this up. I didn't even get a chance to tell you this yet. The other day, scrolling social media like we do, flipping through people's Instagram stories, and somebody that I followed had screenshotted a reply to a story she did. And the reply that person put was, like, it was one of those posts like, here's my thought that nobody else will say because it's too edgy or whatever. And they said, I believe mental health is now the fab word for saying I don't want to do anything hard.
That's literally why we have a stigma. That's why people don't speak out and why people won't seek out help.
Exactly. And I replied to this person and I said, I really hope you don't feel this way, because a post like this, if you have a friend who's struggling and hurting and your friend sees that post, they're instantly never going to talk to you. They're never going to reach out to you. And they might not reach out to anybody.
Anyone. Yeah.
Because they feel that it's the fab thing because they don't want to do anything hard. Fuck that.
Seriously. Same thing, similar happened. So Simone Biles, when that all happened, I saw a post on Instagram, and it was a therapist who it was a screenshot, same exact thing actually. And this guy, I think he's some sort of doctor too, actually. And he said something like how she just wanted to get out of it because she did bad in the other event and whatever, blah, blah, something. And then this other therapist said something about how that is literally why there's a stigma, is because people won't speak out. And when people say things like that, like you just said.
Yeah, one thing that I will say is laughable is if you look at all the people that were having this outrage and saying she quit on her team and she was just too scared to lose and whatnot. You want to know what the common denominator in all of them are? Old fucking white men. Because that generation, especially like our parents, our grandparents, fucking mental health, nothing. To them, it was all like,
That's so true.
Definitely the suck it up and push it down. And so this generation doesn't understand it. And every time I saw a negative comment about Simone Biles, I was like, oh, shocking, you're old and white. Shocking, you're old and white. Like, what the?
You know what? That's so interesting. I never thought about that. That's okay, Nova. I never thought about that, how that's a generation where mental health wasn't a thing, and people weren't bringing awareness to it. It wasn't important. And I just never thought about that.
I mean, I think it's beyond just the fact, absolutely, yes. It's that generation, our parents and grandparents' generation. But if you look at it, I mean, I'm 33, and even when I was like in kindergarten, the information that they had, even not, let's not take the depression and anxiety, let's take that out. Even my ADHD, they had no fucking idea what to do with a 5-year-old who's rambunctious, and they just threw a class. I took Adderall or Ritalin forever. It's like a class 2 narcotic or something.
Yeah.
And like, so they just threw this medicine at me and figured, oh, that'll be fine. No, doesn't work that way.
No. Oh my gosh.
So, I mean, I'm glad to see the rise in awareness of ADHD don't just need these heavy duty medicines. They need somebody to help them understand why they feel that way, why their brain is acting that way. And Jessica actually just turned me on to a great podcast as well. We're a big podcast house in general.
Love that.
And they literally, it's a male and female best friends, both have ADHD. And they talk about their struggles in day-to-day life, no matter what the subject is. And it was super cool to listen to because I'm like, yep, that's so beyond accurate.
Yeah, that is really cool. And then plus, like, just getting one viewpoint of male, one viewpoint female too. That's super awesome. Do you go to therapy once a week now? Or how many times do you go?
With ART, I tend to go every other week. And then the opposite week, we do couples therapy because ART is taxing enough as is. But if we did couples in the same week, my head might actually explode trying to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I do every 2 weeks, especially with ART. I think that breaking it up a little bit because you've done it. You're putting your brain through so much. You're basically taking these traumas, reliving them in detail, and then you're trying to change the narrative of them so that you don't get as easily triggered. I think that that's probably the most dumbed down way I can explain ART.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And you're trying to do that in an hour session. So yeah, I love it. I love it. And it's also like, oh my God, I wish I didn't work 15 minutes after because I could take a 2-hour nap.
Yeah. I always felt that way too, like just kind of tired afterwards and then, but also kind of relieved too. Like it just felt good to work through that,
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because it's some of these memories that you don't even think about that then get brought up.
Mm-hmm.
You don't realize how hard the similarities to things now are. And so you don't realize how heavy they're hitting you. And then you're like, okay, yep, I really need to work on that. I'm really glad that I did. Holy shit. That's usually how I leave a feeling.
Yeah. What have you learned about yourself? Like, what are a few things that you've learned just through going through therapy and being more an advocate for mental health?
That's a great question. I think I've learned a lot that for many years, I had this picture painted of myself that was totally inaccurate. I had just thought that I had inherited all of the worst features of my dad, and those were overtaking every other aspect of me. Luckily, I never got his drinking. I maybe drink 2 or 3 times a year for special occasions. That's it. But his anger, the ability to, when I get angry, use my words in a very awful way. And I had just thought that these were things I got from him. Well, yes, they were, but they're not me. I just had absorbed them over the years. And now it's like that painting is not me. Now I'm reworking that through ART and talk therapy and everything else. I'm reworking that to kind of get those snap reactions. Like those don't need to be my reactions. Those are things that I learned that they don't make me, basically.
Yes. I love how you said that they don't make you.
Yeah. Yes, they are just, all they really are is bad habits that were learned at a very young age.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's probably the best way I can put that.
Yeah. How are you implementing mental health into your work life at the gym?
Yeah, I mean, it's because I am still new to that location. A lot of it has just been getting to know my members and letting them know that I'm the face of the club now. But the biggest way, honestly, was I had this member, young girl, 20, 24, 25, I can't remember for sure. And she came in, signed up for membership. We did the fitness consultation the next day, and we're going over talking about her, and I'm asking her, to do if you had to give yourself a 1 out of 10 on your ability to cope with stress, and we're talking about that. Then we got to body image, and she put a 4. And she was a young, attractive woman, and I looked at her and I was like, do you mind me asking you a question? And I'm going to get personal. And she was like, okay. I was like, why a 4? I was like, why? Like, that's heartbreaking to see a young girl put a 4 down. And I bet you could guess the reason why she put a 4 down. Social media.
Mm-hmm.
Social media had made her feel that she wasn't that attractive. And so her and I connected. She is now one of my clients. She's signed up for us to do PT. And one day she didn't show up for a session. And that was very unlike her to show up and not say anything. So I called her and then I texted her through our system. And she responded and she was like, I'm super depressed. I didn't have the ability to even get out of bed today. I was feeling super shitty. And I'm really mad at myself because I know that working out would have helped me feel better. And so she's a 1 time a week client. I didn't have another session per se that week, but I told her, I was like, you know what? Come in at 1 tomorrow. Let's do a session, just you and me. Let's work this out, and I'll do what I can. And she was there. She was super appreciative and thankful. Like, it's that's probably the biggest way so far. You gave me the great idea of writing little quotes at the bottom of our base burn and build boards. And I think that I just want to keep instilling that yes, we're all going to have shitty days, but you know what? Somebody is going to be there. So I felt really glad that in that moment, at least, that she wasn't feeling good. She was sad that she was mad with herself for missing the workout. But I was like, you know what? We all have those days. I've had those days. Let's do it tomorrow.
Yeah.
And so, and now I feel that it's, now I feel that I'm just trying to take each day to create that club culture of, this isn't just a gym. Like, I'm not just we've all been to the big box gyms that have the people at the front desk that don't even look up from their phones when you walk in. They just scan the thing and walk in. And I make it a point to, I try, and I'm sure you're the same way, like, I try to wave to every single person that walks in and out of my gym.
Mm-hmm.
Smile at them, give them a wave, because they might need it. Who knows?
Exactly.
But that's the thing I love about Anytime Fitness being a smaller gym, is we have that ability to build these communities and build relationships with people.
And it's so amazing when you can connect on that deep level and that trust that gets built. Like when we're vulnerable and when we allow them to be vulnerable, if we can build that rapport, and then trust that gets built when we reach out to people who don't come and letting them talk about their stressors and just being like, hey, this happens to me too. Let's get you back in, and just like reassuring them that it's okay. It happens to everyone. And that's like one of my favorite parts, is just seeing the growth that people can have from when they walk in and they have a body image of 4 to just the little times where they push through those times that are hard. They have hard days. Mentally, they have hard days. And like, that's one thing that I try and push into my gym too, is that mental health matters, and it is okay to have those days. And every time I see or talk with a younger female who we talk about body image and confidence and like diet restriction, I just feel for them, because I've been through that. So when you can actually relate to them as well, it just opens up this whole new window of opportunity to connect with someone.
I agree.
Change a life. It's so great.
I absolutely do. And the best part was we did her 4-week follow-up, and she went from a 4 to a 7. I think it was a 7. It was a 6 or 7. I'm sure I'm sure that she'll correct me if I'm wrong, because I've been telling my members that I'm doing this with you. I'm super stoked. So
Right.
I think it went to like a 6 or 7 or something. And I just looked at her and I was like, yes.
And how amazing it is that you took the opportunity and you took kind of a, what's the word? A jump, I guess, in asking her about that number 4 for her body image. Because I feel like that's not easy for, especially a man, like a male to ask a female that question and to kind of open that up. How was that?
I definitely had to kind of second guess myself for a minute there, because at this point I had just met her. Like I met her the day before. So while I felt that I always try to build some sort of rapport with people as soon as they come in, I was like, all right, this is going to go either really well or this is going to go really bad. And so I took the chance, and she took the chance too to get vulnerable with me. She didn't have to. She could have clammed up. She could have just didn't say she didn't want to talk about it, but she did. And she comes in every week and she absolutely kills it. She comes in, she does our team sessions. We have our once a week SGT, and she's always complaining to me about how sore I'm making her. And I just look at her and go, you're welcome.
Yeah, same.
Yep. I love that, because for me especially, the gym is not just a place to go and get a workout in.
I agree.
It's mental, because I get to clear my head of all the bullshit that's going on. I get to throw my earbuds in and I get to do my thing. And I want others to feel that way too, because you got to take care of the body and the mind at the same time. And I think the biggest thing, especially for men, like I touched on before, is they view the gym as the cure-all for every problem they have. It's like, no, you got to take care of the mind, or it's going to be really slippery slope.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I try and tell people too, my clients and other members, that just like we have to go into the gym, make a conscious effort to go to the gym, to work on our fitness, work on our strength, we also have to consciously make that effort to work on our mind, our mindset, and to seek out that help. Like we seek out help from a trainer to learn how to move our body. We seek out an eye doctor to check up on our eyes. We seek out what else?
Chiropractor for me. Chiropractors are
chiropractor, dentist for our teeth. Why not seek out a therapist to help with our mental health and our mind, or at least start making it a daily exercise, like a routine?
Yeah, I think that once society gets to the point where talking about your mental health and saying I'm not okay is more normalized, I think society as a whole needs to get to the point where it's okay to say that. Yeah. Otherwise, this problem's not going to get any better. I mean, it's heartbreaking to see that. I remember, I think it was last year, like some 12-year-old boy who was so depressed about quarantine and lockdown killed himself. Like, are you fucking kidding me? 12? Like, I think men in particular, as fathers, need to stop telling their kids, don't cry. Big boys, suck it up, like that kind of shit. And like that right there, if you do that, you gotta fucking stop.
What would you say to someone who is going through that, and they're not seeking out help, they're not talking to people because of that? What would you say to the person listening? What should they do? What would you say to them? Advice, anything?
First, I'd have to say that notion that we're taught as kids is bullshit. I'm a grown-ass man. I cry.
How many times a week do you cry? Weekly? Not weekly?
I wouldn't say weekly.
Oh, okay.
Here's one thing about me, and I can feel like I need to cry and I won't. For some reason, my body just for some reason doesn't. But when I get to that point, watch out.
Waterfalls.
I'm incoherent. I'm blubbering. I'm like, it's bad. It's bad.
Mm-hmm.
But it's whether you're that way or you're not, whether you cry easily, whether you don't, it's okay to cry, first and foremost. I'll say this, if another grown-ass man has an issue with another grown-ass man crying, he's got the issues that he needs to work on.
Mm-hmm.
Something that he needs to get sorted out.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care how big and strong you are. I'm 6'2", 300 pounds, and if I see a grown man crying, I'm going to be like, bro, are you okay? Like, it's okay to cry. But if anybody's listening to this, watching it, that feels that way, that was raised that way, just take one small step. There's somebody that you know. Just go, hey, can we talk? Like, for real talk? Because I guarantee you there's somebody that you know, no matter who it is, and it doesn't have to be another guy. It doesn't. Just talk. Like, it doesn't matter. Don't give a shit if you cry. Don't give a shit. You shouldn't care if you're going to cry, if you're going to stumble around your words, if you might not even be able to say anything. You might just cry. I've had those moments. And somebody that truly cares about your well-being, that wants you to be okay, is going to sit there with you.
Mm-hmm.
Because some people's instinct, because of this stigma and whatnot, is as soon as somebody starts to cry is, oh, stop crying. It's okay. That's not helpful.
Right. I think instead of saying it's okay, be like, it may be not be okay, or you may not be okay right now, and that's okay.
Yep. And I just heard this today, and I'm probably going to butcher it. But if you see somebody crying, like we just said, don't say it's okay. Sit there and let them cry. Mm-hmm. It might be uncomfortable, and you might feel, because it's foreign, you might feel that it's, to you, almost a little awkward, but that person's hurting. So, like, let them be vulnerable.
Yeah.
Because the moment that you pull away, or the moment you say something like, it's okay, you might not be trying to be insensitive, but to that person, it's insensitive.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to go, whoop, and that's when pushing it down starts all over again.
Yeah. And I've learned too that I try and ask them what they need. Like, what do you need from me right now? Or do you want a hug, or do you just want me to be here with you? Or do you want to talk through things? Do you want to vent about things? Like, kind of asking them, just what do you need in this moment right now? Instead of just going in for the hug, or instead of just like rubbing their back and saying it's okay.
That, to me, what you just said has become my biggest go-to as well. And I think if a lot of people could change the mindset that they have and just go, what do you need from me right now? That is, I think that so many people would just finally be okay with opening up about, like, yeah, I'm not okay.
Right.
Yeah, I need a hug, or I just need somebody to sit here with me. And I actually had a member come into my office crying one day. And luckily I knew this member, otherwise I would probably have been a little like, what's going on?
Yeah.
But I knew her because she talks to me every time she's in, and I just looked at her and I just said, what do you need? What can I do, if anything? And she just was like, I just need to cry. And she cried, and she told me that her boyfriend of 2.5 years broke up with her. And it was sad, and I just let her cry. And so then afterwards, I was like, what do you need? Is there anything I can do? And she's one of my SGT clients. And she's like, can you just put me through a really good workout? And I was like, I can definitely do that for you.
Yeah, just asking what they need, what can I do for you? That can go a long way.
It's I think that if people in general changed their attitudes and thought processes around that stuff, I think it would be a game changer in society. I really do.
Yeah, I think so too. Let's see, two things came to mind. Okay, so back to when we were talking about if someone's listening to this and they were growing up, had that mentality, mindset, parents that kind of push down their feelings. And what if they don't know of anyone? What if they're like, because I feel like some people are going to be like, well, it's easier said than done. Like, what if they really feel like they don't have anyone? And we know that there's therapists, right? And we can't make someone go, like, listening, we can't make you. You have to want it for yourself. So maybe that's kind of the advice too, is you have to want it for yourself. And if you don't know anyone,
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, what were you going to say?
I don't know if you're gonna how you're gonna link us when you advertise this podcast, but put my Instagram handle. My last big post
There we go. Thank you.
The last big post that I just made, I literally said in it, if you need somebody to talk to, let me know.
There we go.
Yeah, I might not fucking know this person at all, but if some stranger reaches out and goes, hey, heard your podcast that you did with Sophia, I don't know who I can turn to. Cool. Let's talk.
That answered my question. Awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I might not know the person. Mm-hmm. I might not ever know them truly or meet them, but if I can just somehow give them some sort of breakthrough, I would be super happy. I would love to know that I could be supportive to somebody that I didn't know, that doesn't know me.
Yeah. Sometimes I feel like that's even better. Sometimes people need that. Like if it's someone who they don't know, just talking to someone who they don't know, that can really help.
Absolutely. I agree with you 100%, because some people might have some stuff that they need to talk about that they don't know how people in their life are going to react to.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. I can only imagine the stuff that some people are sitting on and letting eat them up because they just don't know what to do, how to do it. And I mean, like Jessica she works a lot with, like I said, the LGBTQIA community, and she's had to talk to people about coming out to family and friends and how long they waited and stuff like that. And I don't know details, but I can only imagine those conversations, because that's something big to hold on to that you don't quite know how to open up. Like Jessica's very open about the fact that she's pansexual. Very open to that. She's in the past dated men, she's dated women. And so I feel that having people know that when they walk into her practice is a big help for her. Mm-hmm. And I feel at times that for me, I'm like, especially in this day and age, I'm a straight white man. A lot of people look at me right away and go, I'm sure you're not somebody that I can talk to. I've heard it before. I'm big, I'm burly, I've got the beard, I've got the tattoos. Like, I'm intimidating. Fucking not. I'm a giant fucking teddy bear, but I get the outward look that I can give off. And if somebody were to say that they felt that they could talk to me, that would make me super happy.
Yeah.
Because everybody needs somebody to talk to.
Yeah.
Again, mm-hmm. Big strong guy, used to be a power lifter. I love lifting heavy weights, but I still need somebody to talk to.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not afraid to admit that. I don't think anybody should be afraid to admit that. I don't care, man, woman, child, gay, straight, pan, whatever you identify as, whoever you are, talk to somebody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And we all have a mind, we all have a brain, and we all have mental health. regardless of if you have like a specific illness or anything. Like we all have mental health that needs to be worked on. And we all have shit going on. Oh my gosh, on a freaking day-to-day basis. We all have shit going on. And just because like Susie Q down the road has a lot of other things going on that you may feel is worse than what you have going on doesn't make your shit any less. Like all even, because everyone's different.
If you think about it, yes, there's always somebody that has it or is going through something worse than you. Yeah. Like, yes, that person might struggle to like talk to you about your shit because you don't know what's going on with them. That's another thing we have to keep. That's another thing we have to keep in mind is to loop back a little bit to what we're saying about reaching out to somebody. If you're going through shit and somebody reaches out to you and you feel you can't talk to them about your shit, I feel that, and I mean, you might have a brainstorm or a light bulb moment that you can describe this better to me is just talk to that person a little bit. Go, hey, I'm sorry you're struggling. I won't lie, I am too. I might not be the best person. I might not be in the best place to talk to you at this very moment. Like, I feel that that's something we also have to be aware of too. I have my bad days. Granted, I feel that I've gotten to a point where I can compartmentalize pretty well. Like, okay, yep, I'm having a bad day. Somebody who's really struggling is coming to me. Like, I can shelve this for an hour. But not everybody is at that point. Mm-hmm. And so I think that us with the knowledge of mental health, we have to be aware of that as well. And people reaching out to others, you got to be prepared that somebody might be going through some worse shit than you too.
Mm-hmm. I'm so glad you brought that up because that reminds me of it's also important to set boundaries too. If someone does come to you, hear them out, talk to them. But I have a personal story with this, but you can only do so much. And if you start to feel that it's a burden on you, like you feel bad about not being able to help them, you feel like it's a burden, it's weighing you down even more, it's bringing your mental health down. That's where you just need to draw the line, set a boundary and say, I'm here for you. I'm your friend. I'm going to help you in any way I can. But part of that help is to encourage you to go see someone who is more professionally trained in this aspect of life, because we're not all therapists.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely, because your mental health, no matter who you are, is fragile. Mm-hmm. I don't care who you think you are. There is a limit for every single person. Mm-hmm. And you can't put yourself at risk just to help somebody else. You do have to set that boundary and you have to go, you know what? Like you said, I'm here for you. How can we help you find a licensed, trained, educated professional? Yeah. Granted, I have to be careful because I can't just, I've sent a couple of people to my wife to just be like, hey, can you help them? And I found out pretty quickly that there's some boundaries that have to be set there. Oh, okay. Mm-hmm. Depending on the situation, she knows people who are good fits for people. I just learned that the hard way a couple of times, recommending a couple of people like, oh, why don't you reach out to my wife? Yeah. I gotta be a little bit more. I gotta be a little bit more careful with that one.
Yeah. I want to talk about the phrase, how are you doing? Because it's so easy for us to be like, how are you today? Oh, I'm good. I'm great. How are you? It's like habit. How are you? Good. How are you? Oh, I'm good. But no, like for me, it's like, I want to know, how are you really? Not everyone, or I want their answer to be true. Like, I'm not okay. Or today is just not a good day. And whenever people ask me that, I try and be more aware of that too and say, well, today's not the best day. I'm not doing very well today. Because then it helps other people not get into that same routine of like, oh yeah, I'm okay, when really they're not.
Yep. Yeah. I agree so much. And we check in with people all the time. Mm-hmm. Hey, how are you doing? But how often do we really check in with them?
Or how often do we answer truthfully when we're asked that question?
That too. And because I'm sure you're very similar in this, I'm a very empathetic person. I feel when something's off with somebody. So when I go, hey, how are you? And they go, oh, I'm doing okay. I can't help it. I just look at them and I go, really? Really? Because you say that, but you got a frown on your face. So I guess I don't put it really that way, because that would be a little like.
Well, it's good that you can sense that and then ask them again and give them the chance to kind of open up a little bit.
Yeah, it's like, are you really okay? Like, I'm feeling like something's off, and I could be crazy. Who knows? I actually try not to use I could be crazy, because that could be the wrong verbiage to use to somebody.
Yeah. But I feel like a better question that I've learned is, how's your mind today? Or how's your heart today?
I like that.
Yeah.
How's your mindset? How's your
mindset today?
How's your mental state? If you really want to get dive in on that with them.
Yeah. Or to not have people just right away say good, because I feel like people will be like, wait a second, my mental state actually isn't the best today.
Yeah. And I think along that same lines, it's along the same lines, but I'm gonna kind of take a right turn here on you. I think people need to get more comfortable with, at work and with supervisors and with bosses, going, hey, I need a mental health day. Yes.
I literally was thinking this too, because I don't know if I've seen posts on it or what, but seriously, I was thinking that too. It should be totally okay to just say, I need a mental health day and I just need to have this break.
I did it this week.
And for supervisors to right away up front say in the beginning, if you need a mental health day, you let me know.
Yeah, absolutely. And I did it this week. I got to work, and for some reason, I was in my head and I couldn't figure out why. My anxiety was just fucking spinning that day. And so with my ADHD, it helps me to find a task, like a menial task that doesn't take any brain power. And I just do it because then it kind of shuts my brain down a bit. So I'm sure, as you're well accustomed to this, I deep cleaned the shit out of the bathrooms at my club.
Yeah.
And so I'm doing it. I'm scrubbing, which, by the way, if you go to a gym and you use paper towels and you miss the garbage can, take the 3 seconds to throw it in the garbage can.
Oh my God, yeah.
Pet peeve is when I walk into this.
Seriously.
Towels next to the trash. Anyways, that's my little rant there. But I'm scrubbing away and I get done and I'm just not able to get my mind right. So I text my area manager and my regional manager, because I have a great relationship with both of them, luckily.
Awesome.
I'm like, hey guys, first off, everything's fine. I need to take a mental health day. I think it was a little after lunchtime. I was just like, I don't know what's up with my head right now, but I need to take the day. So I did. I left, and both of them texted me. And again, this is the difference, and this is the mindset that employers need to get to. Is both of them go, is there anything I can help with? Because I laid shit out there when I started with them. I have therapy every week. I struggle with mental health at times. I'm very upfront about it. And I told them this, and they were both like, okay. And so they both checked in. They both asked if I was okay. I told them, yep, I'm at home now. I'm resting. And the next day, my area manager, he called me at the club, and he was like, hey, I want to make sure that things are okay today, that you're doing well. And I'm like, you know what? I do appreciate you checking in. Today's a better day. I'm feeling a little bit more right. So I'm just going to plug away and do this.
Wow.
I think that not only as we people need to start realizing, I'm struggling, my work's clearly getting affected, but employers need to realize that if you show that little bit of compassion, that's going to go a huge fucking way with your employees.
Yes, because then it's about the person and not the business. Like they're separating the two, but then they realize that if they take this mental health day, it's only going to help the next day or the next couple of days. Like if we're there not doing anything anyways, we're checked out, we're not doing good, we can't give our best, we can't be our best. So when employers can start to realize that and make it okay to do that, and good for you for reaching out to them and saying, hey, I'm going to take a mental health day.
Yeah, because I learned that because in my previous job, I worked in an office and it was just, you never got that vibe from higher ups. It was that typical office vibe where they could give two shits about how you're feeling mentally. And so I never came out when I needed. I just struggled through it. And I just, my work was kind of crap that day. And I just dealt with the fallout of it. And so
that burn out faster, probably.
Yep. And so after I left there, and I was doing my own thing as a personal trainer for a while before I found Anytime Fitness. But when I started Anytime Fitness, I was like, you know what? I'm not going to let that happen again. Like, I'm going to do what's right for me. And if the employer doesn't understand that, then that's cool. I might struggle for a bit, but I will find something better.
Mm-hmm.
Very fortunate that not only the upper managers with my franchise, but the owners are very understanding to all of this. And that's so amazing. They don't question it. And yeah.
That's amazing. And I think it's awesome that you were upfront about it in the very beginning. So like if anyone's about to get a job or go searching for, or they're going to get hired, a good point to just bring it up and say, hey, this like mental health is important to me, and kind of set that expectation. I think that's amazing that you did that. And I think it's a good thing for anyone listening. If they're already in a career, they should have that conversation with their boss or with owners or whoever it is.
Yeah, I agree completely. And one thing that I found interesting was when I was job hunting again and went and filled out applications, they're actually starting to put, now I think the wording of it could probably use some tweaking just because it's a little off-putting, but now depression and anxiety and stuff is listed under a disability. Now, technically, yes, I guess medically it is a disability, but I don't think it disables me from doing anything. But I think it is very nice that it's now something that's more considered and something that you can now let them know. Granted, I don't know how much that'll change just with that being on a piece of paper, but I think it's somewhat of a step in the right direction to where we need to be for mental health. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it is what it is. I went into the interviews that I had with them and I was like, this is me. Like,
sets you apart, and also it shows another aspect of it's something that you prioritize, which I would hope that employers and people who are now doing interviews with whatever it is, that they would either they realize that, or it's a light bulb that's like, oh yeah, like this is important. This is pretty awesome that this guy is talking about this, and they take that into consideration.
Yeah, I guess the biggest thing for me is if anything, I just want to help normalize the talk of mental health. It doesn't have to be men specifically, but just in general. Mm-hmm. It's okay to talk about it. It's okay to not be okay.
Yeah.
Like we said. And I mean, I feel that as somebody who's a step parent, I mean, I'm fortunate enough that my stepkids have their mom who is a therapist, but also like we openly talk if we're not okay. Mm-hmm. And just the other night, my stepdaughter was like, I'm sad and I don't know why. Mm-hmm. Yep. And so
it just came out and said that.
Yeah. Because we knew we could see that she was acting a little off, and we were like, are you okay? And like, are you feeling it? And she's like, no, I'm sad. We're like, is there anything in particular? And she's like, I don't know why.
And there's going to have to be a reason.
So her favorite thing is she loves to be squished. like squished, or like when I tuck her in every night, she like asks me to like lay on her and put my body weight on her. So Jessica and I are in her room, and Jessica looks at it and she goes, "Do you need Phil to squish you?" And she goes, "Yeah." And so like that helps her feel better. And I mean, I'm worried I'm going to hurt her, but she's never complained about it, and it just helps her feel more secure, I guess. So
Yeah.
no problem doing it. And I think that parents need to, sooner rather than later, it's never too late to talk to your kids about mental health.
Yeah.
There's, especially in this day of technology where they can be bullied in 7 different ways from sundown, you got to talk to them. You've got to just let them know it's okay to not be okay, and to tell somebody you're not okay.
Yeah. Parents, I think, don't see a lot of what goes on in their kid's life, as shitty as that is. But you seriously, because you hear stories all the time of someone who maybe commits suicide or something happens, and it's like they were living a whole other life outside of home life that the parents didn't even realize. And growing up, people are always saying how kids watch what you do. They mimic what you do from when they're babies, like we're talking, doing hand movements. They will mimic you. And if we're allowing ourselves to be open with mental health and talk about it, they're going to mimic that. And then they're going to see that it is okay. Just like working out in front of them, So important.
Yeah, it's with technology, what it is these days, I mean, it might seem overboard, but we don't really give a shit. Like we have monitoring apps on the kids' phones, and we routinely, every so often, will just take their phones and check them.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like I said, it may seem overboard, but I don't really care, because I remember, I mean, I grew up in like the evolutionary era. Like I got my first cell phone at, I think, 16, 17. And granted, we couldn't do shit with it. There was no Facebook.
Yeah,
you couldn't do anything, but you could still text people. And
yep.
you could still bully people and get bullied through that. And we did. We one day we took Isaiah's phone and we found out this kid had been texting him really fucked up shit. And so we called the kid and we demanded to talk to his parents. And we said, you should really take your kid's phone and look at the shit he's sending our kid. And parents need to hold their kids accountable.
Yeah, I agree.
If I found out my stepson was bullying somebody, that ain't gonna fly. Right. That's not gonna fly. Granted, he is like, I'm a big teddy bear, but that kid is like he is a lovable kid. Yep. You gotta let the dog in?
Nope. Okay. Yeah, just humans.
Okay. So I don't think he ever would, but it's just, bullying is not acceptable. You need to fucking hold your kids accountable. And if you're one of those dickhead parents that's like, oh, my kid bullied your kid, or blah, like, fuck you, you're making the problem worse.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And I think anyone listening to this who wants to be an advocate for mental health, really, it's just simple, like starting by just talking about it and posting something, even because I know social media is huge, but be that person that can shine a light on mental health or be an inspiration to someone else just by sharing that. Like, you would be surprised by the amount of people who you will impact and not even realize it. Or you could change someone's perspective, or you could prevent someone from just, doing anything horrible. I don't know, just by posting about it and by us having these conversations, like, this is what's going to help. I think we've come a long way with mental health and it becoming more of a okay thing to talk about. We have a long way to go. But I think that just by talking, like me and you having these conversations and sharing more at the gym and things like that can really help.
Absolutely. And to take that one step further, beyond just the post and making that post, fucking follow through on it. Because there are so many people that I see make these posts that I second guess them. Granted, maybe it's because I'm a bit of a pessimist. I try to see the best in people, but sometimes
you are a pessimist.
At times, I do have my moments. I try to see the best in people. I really do. But I see some people, like we all know we're friends with people on Facebook that just share everything just to share it. And I see it, I'm like, if I were to reach out to you in a time of need, would you actually take the time
Mm-hmm.
to talk? Because that's a big thing. Because if somebody takes the step to reach out to you because of a post you made and you pull back, that's it. They probably
Yeah.
never will again. So I think that to take that one step further to what you're saying is it's
Just to make sure that you're following through. Yeah. And I feel like, I guess I'm more of an optimist. So in my devil's advocate here, I feel like if people are sharing that, they more than likely will be following through. And also there's this component to not like us making sure that we're not judging that person and thinking they're not gonna help the people. You know what I'm saying? Like
absolutely, absolutely. And I hope to God every time I see somebody post that, I hope that they would be there for somebody.
yeah.
It's just I guess it's almost speaking from experience. There are people that would post stuff like that you'd reach out to, kind of not in a full-fledged reach out, but in kind of like a little feeler reach
Mm-hmm.
out, and it wasn't there. So maybe it's more from some bad experiences.
Experience, yeah, for sure. That definitely plays a role. Yeah. What would be like one thing that you would want someone listening or watching this to walk away with?
No matter how strong you are, whether it be physically or mentally, it is not a sign of weakness to say I need help. If anything, the strongest people that you know will be the first to admit that they need help.
Mm-hmm.
It took me getting to my lowest to realize that. And it took me hitting the rock bottom to realize like it takes real strength to admit that you need help. So it's not going to make you weak. It's not going to make you look weak or seem weak to rely on somebody else. It's an act of strength. It's an act of real strength to do that.
Yeah, for sure. I think sometimes it can, like for us, it's kind of easy to say that, I feel like, but then it's something that someone needs to hear kind of over and over again. Like it is a strength that makes you stronger. But there's me guys, girls out there who's like, they're just not, they're like, screw it, what, they're not going to really believe that. But I think that it's, again, takes a conscious effort in, number one, wanting to, I guess, make a change and to improve your mental health. But number two, thinking through multiple times over and over, like hearing these things over and over again until finally we're like, okay, this does matter. I need to work on this.
Yep. And mental health matters. Your mental health matters. Everyone's mental health matters. There's no discrimination when it comes to mental health. It needs to be addressed at every level. I think schools need to do more to address mental health from a young age. I think employers need to do more to help with mental health, and even down to the fucking insurance companies. Insurance, as anybody who's done therapy with insurance knows, doesn't pay dick on your mental health visits. You literally have to pay off like your entire deductible before it will do anything.
Yeah.
And sometimes they even cap it then at how many visits you can go per year. And it's like, no. Nope. It's there needs to be a systemic change all around. From everybody's viewpoint, everybody's way of life to really make this change.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I agree. Well, this was an amazing conversation.
Yes, I loved it.
I don't think there's like any other questions, but we talked about a lot. And oh my gosh, we can definitely do this again sometime. I think it's like, I just want to kind of just commend you for being a voice and an advocate for mental health, and especially being a male in this space and in fitness, and being that voice for people and that inspiration for people. I think it takes vulnerability and strength. And it's so amazing to see. And I love it. And thank you for being vulnerable and coming on here and sharing your story. And I just really appreciate that.
Well, I really appreciate you and giving me this platform to do it, because when we first talked about it and I saw that you did a podcast, and I was like, oh my God, we should do something.
Yeah.
Because I've wanted to. I know friends that do podcasts, but they do topics that don't ever touch on mental health. And it's like, my wife and I have joked about starting a podcast before, and I don't know. She has done podcasts with people before. She loves it. I think that she offers a lot to anybody who needs a little insight. It's just, I appreciate you for doing it. You and your Instagram posts are always, I saw what you have written on your hand today. I saw that on your, on your story. And I love it. You're always posting really cool stuff. So I appreciate you letting me do this. Yeah,
of course. We can definitely do it again. I think it's so amazing. Like, social media can be detrimental if we let it, but also like the connections that we can make, like for me and you, and I guess also through our workplace, but it allows us to be able to meet other like-minded people and to get the word out and to, be that voice for people who won't or who can't or who are struggling. So this was amazing. So also one other question, because I did not say I was going to ask you this, but I always like to ask people what your definition is of flow with the grow. Like, what comes to mind? What does that mean to you?
Flow with the grow. So instantly to me, I heard it and I read it, and you know who Bruce Lee is, right?
Yeah.
It instantly made me think of his famous water speech, where he talks about you have to be water. If water's in a cup, it becomes a cup. If it's in a bowl, it becomes the bowl. Like, because if water flows. And so I instantly kind of likened him to both of those, because water's always changing. And to grow, you have to be able to change. So I kind of...
Wow, I love that.
So that to me is what flow with the grow it means to me.
This is why I love asking this question. Every single person has a different answer and a different insight that like I've never heard of before. So I love that. Awesome.
I'm glad I could provide that insight.
So if someone wants to reach out to you, I'm gonna in the show notes put your Instagram for sure. What is your Instagram again?
The Ginger Viking.
There we go. Okay, that'll be in the show notes. And definitely anyone listening, watching, feel free to reach out to Phil. Like he said, he's here for you. And let us know if you have questions. But yeah, again, thank you for coming on. I'll chat with you soon, I'm sure. And we'll chat soon.
Yes, thank you, Sophia. Have a good one.
Have a good night. Bye. Bye.